Got to add that as an addendum. It's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I'm looking forward to delving into your world.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Anytime I can be on someone else's show, man. Well, look, you run a show. You know what it's like, Joe.
Yeah,
It's not easy to do this, and it's
yeah,
not easy to grab people's attention. So, to all of you, thank you for listening to us. But also,
absolutely.
Joe, thanks for having me on, man. I know what this means. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's begin our journey with this. 5 years ago, this pandemic rearranged our worlds and our lives.
Yeah.
How did you make it through that time period, and how has it changed the way that you live life today?
So let me just back up. That was a big, crazy thing. I've lived a crazy life before that. And so when I look at like, wow, that's crazy, the very top of my list is I was in a head-on collision with a tank in Iraq. An American tank hit my bus, my van, but like a minivan, but like a European style one. So it's really small, right? And I was in the front seat and I saw that track coming towards me and I walked away without even a scratch. My
Wow.
buddy was in the vehicle behind us, and they also got into a head-on collision with the same tank. And he was in a Humvee, and he got ejected out of the Humvee with the seat still attached. He wrecked his shoulder. He was basically okay, but
Yeah.
has, this life-changing injury to his shoulder, but he can still live a regular life. He still rides motorcycles, all that stuff. So when I think about what's dangerous, nothing is going to get over that. Like nothing is. And so it's not that I didn't respect the disease, and I'm pretty good at science, and I know doctors and everything. But when I talk to people, they're like, it's probably going to not be all that dangerous in general. This is before when I first started, like protect kids, protect old elderly, and everybody else is going to be pretty good. People are going to die for sure, but you know, keep distance, wash your hands, all these kind of things, right? And so that was how you could manage it. And I lived my life in a way that was probably more open than a lot of folks here in California were comfortable with. But I also wasn't trying to be anybody's problem. So I wore my mask. I stayed away from people as much as possible. I kind of niched in with my family in my little village. But I also traveled across country, and I stayed outside. Because here's the thing I know about science: you're not going to get sick standing outside. You're just not. You're not going to get sick playing golf. You're not going to get sick at the beach. You might get sick at a bar, right, where it's congested. But we had a lot of overreactions here in California, and that's not a political statement. It's just how we approached it. Sweden did a different thing, Florida did, a lot of places did different things, but we couldn't even listen to what was working, what wasn't working.
Yeah.
So I handled it like I am not going to put anybody else in jeopardy as much as I can, but I'm also going to live my life as much as I can. And so I still did things and I was careful about it. And I don't think I never I only got COVID last fall. And even then I tested negative. So I don't know if I really had it. My girlfriend tested positive. She also had never gotten it. So I'm including her test as a false positive, false negative for me. Um, so I handled it by being respectful of other people, got all my shots, did all that stuff, but also tried to get together with people that were comfortable with that. I never forced anybody to do anything. I know people that died. I know people that lost their parents. And so how I handled it was as best as I could.
Yeah. So you're tagged as a combat spy turned podcast host, but if I wanted to get to the nuts and bolts of what you do right now on a daily basis, I'm going to put you in a school in front of 12th graders at career day, and the kid in the back of
Yeah.
the room is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?"
Yeah.
What's your answer?
I do this all the time, by the way. I go back to my high school every year. My buddy Tony, I go to his high school every year, both semesters. That's my normal pace, right? So I do this.
Yeah.
And what I say is, I'm you from the future. What do you want to ask me? And I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to talk to you like a parent. I'm not going to talk to you like a peer because we're not, but I am going to give you some ideas on what's coming. And so one of the things I say that I do is like, I am a podcast producer, but I produce things in general. I'm making movies, I produce books, I produce all kinds of things. And when I do that, I'm connecting people. That is one of the things that I do well. Because of my spy work, I just am going to always have a network of people. And so if I'm someone people call like, Pete, do you know someone who does this? That's what I am. And so I'm sort of menschy in that regard. So those are the things that I do. But the main thing I try to tell these kids is well, look, their action verb should be do. Just go do something
Yeah.
and make all the mistakes you can because you're going to be fine. You have to do it. Some of you are going most people in high school class don't know what their real job is going to be. A few of them do. A few of them are going to go be a doctor. One of them is going to go be a jet pilot. But for the most part, we just kind of end up where we end up for a variety of reasons. None of those are available to us in our senior year of high school. I also tell them to slow down, cut some classes because everybody wants them to graduate. Everybody wants them to succeed, but they also like this is the last time. your cohort is all going to be together like this. It'll never happen again. Yes, you'll have reunions, but some of you will be dead. Some of you will opt out. Some of you know, and so this is a special time. Reward yourself a little bit. You've done an incredible thing.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I say to those kids. But yeah, I
Dig it.
love doing it, and I've done it for 20 plus years. I
That's
love
good.
talking to these young folks, even if I don't relate well with them anymore. Like when I know that they don't relate well with me. I try to be funny, engaging, kind of their crazy older uncle guy.
So when you were a kid and you had all these dreams on career day going through your head, what was the dream gig? What did you want to do when you grew up?
I wanted to do like sports announcing. I
Okay.
wanted to do some kind of sports hosting thing, whether it was, I would have been fine with like Channel 3 News at 11:30, whatever, that would have been fine with me. But I was hoping that I could be an on-air voice in some capacity. But that path, there's only so many people that get to walk in that path, and there's a lot of ways to get it wrong, and it didn't work out for me.
Yeah, yeah, it's a rough world. So let me ask
No.
you this. What were the seeds that were planted that had you getting into the military, becoming a spy, getting into podcasting, producing all of these different media? What were the foundational seeds that were planted that have become who you are today?
And when I grew up, uh, my dad wasn't the best guy to be around. Was uncomfortable, safe, eggshelly, and he was abusive. And so I learned to be out of the house because if he wasn't around, the only time I really felt danger was around my dad. And so I just wouldn't go around him. Now, other dads were scary, but they were less scary than my dad.
Yeah,
And I have a lot of moms growing up. Now, my mom is great. My mom is wonderful. She was a great mom. She did her best when she had me around. But she also was trying to marshal like the safety of the house, and so it wasn't the most comfortable upbringing. I had a decent growing, like I didn't have a horrible childhood, but there's horrible things in my childhood, right? So, but I did have a lot of moms that recognized that like I was, I was gonna be around, and they took care of me, and I didn't need food, but they would feed me, like they just did the mom thing, and they provided me a sanctuary when that was appropriate. But the main thing is I just got out and I did things. So I got comfortable being in other environments. And for me, um, like all little kids, I was a bit awkward through probably right around like the beginning of my freshman year of high school. Like I was young for my grade. I'm like a whole year, like a year younger than a lot of my peers. And my hair, my glasses, and just everything else. I had all the bones of a good, cool guy, and I got there. But up until freshman year, it wasn't certain. I was willing, but I hadn't figured myself out because guess what? I was 13 years old. You know,
yeah,
it
yeah.
takes time. And all the things were there though. I'll say I was charming, right? Like to everybody. People like me. People like to talk to me. I had interesting things to say. And so I was able to make friends. I could play sports and I hardened my body playing sports and I read a ton. And so all these things, I say all this, and I'm not bragging about like I'm just a standard dude, standard kid. But that gave me a little bit of a wild streak, right? And I didn't mind being out of the house. If someone called and said, "Do you want it?" Yes, whatever it was, I wanted to go do it. I played a lot of basketball. I played a lot of basketball on a lot of different courts. Where is there a good game? Where can I go play basketball? Oh, I got called to go somewhere. Oh, we're going to go to Oakland. Okay, great. I wasn't scared by any of that. That gave me the ability to when I got to the army, and I joined the army because I couldn't find a real job. I just couldn't, and I'm like, I have to do something. And I had that trap. You know this trap, like we're like, hey, you don't have any experience. Why don't you get some experience? Come get. Well, how do I get experience if you want to
Uh-huh.
hire me? And I'm willing to work my way up, but I couldn't break through. So I'm like, well, I can fix that problem in the army, and so I did. And I'm a smart guy, and so I tested well. I'm in great shape, and so I showed up when they're like, go be a spy, and my particular kind of spying in my world, counterintelligence, there's a lot of subdisciplines. And for whatever reason, I just kind of opted in to this one that I'm sort of the master of. It's just this combat spying discipline. I call it combat spying. That's not really a title. It's my title, but it explains what I did. But my ability to be rugged, to be charming, to outwork my problems, to not be afraid to go out into dangerous places, that just kind of blended together my desire to be curious about people's lives, to build trust with them. All of these things that I had this innate ability, I was able to develop to professional skills. So I took a lot of innate capability, not by design, just by experience and exposure. And I was able to cobble that into a very effective way to run a life. in terms of spying. And it turns out that a lot of those skills I've just reapplied in the podcast world. And so I get to meet you. I get to meet your network. You get to meet my network. I'm going to connect you to whoever, and all of a sudden there's all this value in getting to know Pete and to where I'll have friends say, hey, I got to let you know this. I love it when you come, because I go to my hometown a lot. I love it when you come to town and we have meals. Please let me know when you're in town. It's one
Yeah.
of the best moments of my week. I'm not bragging about this. I'm just telling you, like, this is the kind of guy that I am. And so I accept that. Okay, these people like me. Let me make sure I do these things for that. I do talk to them. We talk about complicated issues. I read about things that I make sure I have a smart something to say, or I say nothing if I don't have anything to say. All of that comes from all of my spy experience.
So, who was that inspiration, that heroic force for you in your life? I know you talked about your dad and being out of the house, but who ultimately was that person that was an inspiration?
I don't know that I had that kind of a mentor type thing. I have had some mentors, but they aren't prominent people in my life. They're just like part of the cast of characters. I'm very impressionable, but also independent and a little bit stubborn. I'm probably a lot stubborn if the person, because I know what I want and I'm like, I'm going to go in this direction and you're not going to change my mind. Like in that regard, I'm stubborn, but also I'm convincible about things. So I didn't really have a specific mentor, which is good and bad, right? I think like the bad part is I was really unguided. If I would have had some better leadership in the military, maybe I would have made different choices. I for sure would have, but nobody in my realm. And MI is not the best world for leaders.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pettiness, there's a lot of backbiting, and so when you stand out in the way I did, and I was kind of like a thoroughbred trapped with a bunch of um, high quality horses, but regular horses, like not a thoroughbred,
Yeah.
and so it would make them uncomfortable because I compete hard. I tell them I'm competing hard. I would say things like, I'm going to pass you in rank, even if it's impossible. I'm just driven like that.
Yeah.
And so I would just be this force, and it comes across as arrogant. It comes across as aloof. And I couldn't control that about myself when I was younger. I didn't have that elegance. I didn't have that efficiency of effort. And so I did a lot of undermining. And that's where a mentor might have helped. But I never found anybody that understood me in a way that I could understand.
So, in the realm of sports broadcasting, who was your person? Who did you admire? Who'd you look up to?
I mean, Vin Scully's great, not just because I'm a Dodger fan, but Vin was everywhere
Oh yeah.
growing up. But you remember this? Like he
Oh
was
man.
on NBC, he was on CBS, he was on, he was everywhere and announced things all the time. I mean, he announced the Niners game with the catch in it, and so it's
Yeah.
like he was everywhere. And like, wow, can I build a career like that? But also like the other guys, like I really was happy just to be like a local big market, sports guy, and just go live in that world. And that would have been great for me. So there's guys like Gary Radnich that did that in the Bay Area when I was a kid, and I'm like, I'd love to be like, I can be Gary Radnich,
Yeah.
not to undermine what Gary did, but it seemed doable, it seemed approachable. I had a lot of knowledge in sports, I had a ton of passion, but I think it didn't work out.
Yeah, no, I get it. I wanted to do that myself. I went to college. That's what I was going to do, was get into sports broadcasting. I had my
Yeah,
seat picked out in Bristol, Connecticut at the set at
yeah,
ESPN. I wanted to be on Sports Center. Olbermann, Patrick, whoever was up there, it was go time, you know.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but if you could step back into that world right now and interview an athlete that's alive on the planet today, have them on your podcast and spend a good quality time with them and ask them questions, who would that be?
I've had a lot of them on the show, people that I
Okay.
would love to have, but right now, well, I guess I want to talk to Kershaw, but
Yeah.
after he retires, I
Yeah.
don't want to bug him while he's playing. And I would love to talk to him. I'd love to talk to Verlander. I'd love to talk to Scherzer. These guys they're the last of a breed.
Yeah.
And when they go, there's never going to be players like that again. And so they're already old timers, even though they're still active.
Yeah, for sure. So, what is it that gets you up every day to be a better podcaster, to learn more about this world, to connect, to be engaged? What is that, professionally and personally for your soul? What keeps you at that level?
Well, the first thing is I get to do this.
Yeah,
And so I don't wake up from an alarm. I just get up and I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do next? And I have so many things to do. My plate's full and it's inspiring. And I'm always working on something that's exciting or interesting. So I love doing this. I've done it for a long time now, 10 years, right? Over 10 years, really, coming up on 11. And it's amazing. It's amazing the lives that we get to have. I'm talking about upcoming shows that are mind blowing. Like
Yeah,
I get to go do this, you know? And maybe to somebody else, if I described who it was, I was gonna, they maybe they wouldn't care, right? Like whatever. But when you have, it's like a base hit up the middle. I don't mean like a dribbler. I mean like laser
right.
beam. You know, but you split second base and shortstop, and you're like, take as many of those as I can get, because that's just Hall of Fame grade work, and that's what I get to do is Hall of Fame grade stuff all the time. I mean, I get I live in Southern California, I have access to a lot of incredible people.
Yeah,
Because of the work I've already put in, I can get anybody. Anybody who's willing to be on a show. Like obviously, if they're not willing to, if they're not doing media or whatever, all right, they're not gettable. But anybody who's gettable, I can. It no longer surprises me when someone legendary says yes. It's a pleasant thing. I go like, oh, okay, but I expect it. I expect it. So if I write a letter to, oh, I don't know, President Trump, I could probably get President Trump on my show. You know, he does podcasts, and I know people that know him directly. So if I chose to do that, why wouldn't he say yes to me? And maybe he wouldn't come on my show. But my expectation is like, I'm not going to borrow a no from a guy who does podcasts all the time. I would sit across from him. That's the thing. That's what we get to build in this
yeah.
life, doing the kind of show that we do.
That's the thing. You're totally right, and that's why this is so refreshing to talk to somebody that's in the same boat. It is amazing, and it's a wonderful world. It's like the antithesis to the media that we see all the time out there. This is a world of people coming together in a very civil, wondrous way, sharing ideas, putting good energy out there, and that's what this is all about. So,
Yeah.
speaking of that, did it surprise you during the pandemic that podcasting, because you've been doing this for 10 years, that it became big and popular? That blew me away when it started getting to be kind of in pop culture and a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I started this long enough ago that I'm like, do we need to make a podcast and how to listen to a podcast? You know?
Yeah,
And then the wave started building and building. And we thought we were late. And they're like, oh wow, we're way early. And
yeah,
so by the time that wave started coming, I had already been through a couple of waves and I'm like, oh, this is how this goes. So I wasn't surprised to see it grow. I was delighted to see how many different ways that you could do a podcast. And there are so many of them. There's so many incredible ones, and people understand that this is a real profession.
yeah,
You can't reliably show up amateur level and get to do this for very long. It's way too hard. The competition's way too high. I mean, you and I, we're in the same industry as Jason Bateman. He's got a show. Now we're never
yeah,
going to beat him for audience, most likely, right? But that doesn't mean that there's not tremendous value in what we do.
yeah,
And so it's on us to figure out where the value is. And because the bar for entry is so low, you can quickly rise above up to legitimately one, given how many podcasts there are,
yeah,
one of the greatest shows of all time. Now maybe that means you're in the top 10% of shows. Like, and let's say that that's what your show is, Joe. Like, let's say you're at top 10%. What does that mean? That means that you've got, you know, a lot of episodes. You're an established show. You've had incredible people on your show. Maybe there's some money coming in, but just by simply existing, more than 50 episodes, more than 150 episodes. You just go up the mountain. And because to go up the mountain means you get better at podcasting, you get better
yeah,
at finding people, you get better at finding value. The quality and the nature of your show just goes up podcast mountain. There's just no way around it.
yeah,
And so all of a sudden you're way up there and you have so much advice, so much counsel. Like I see a lot of people talking about very basic things about podcasting, how to do it, how to not do anything. But there's so much more
yeah,
because they haven't gotten the reps.
yeah,
Like I've been on the mat so many times where I'm like, I'm going to quit. But I didn't. I found a way to go forward.
yeah,
All of those lessons, and not just me, there's 1,000 of me, right? That can say, hey, little more of this, little less of that, little more of this, little less of that. And
totally.
when I advise that, because one of the things I do is I produce other podcasts. When I advise my clients, I'm like, just what can you do today? Like, what thing can you do every single day? We can look at big things, aspirational things that we're going to work on over this month, but can you show up every day and feed your little baby, your show? And if you can't, work on that,
Yeah,
or don't quit.
right.
It's fine. It's fine to quit because podcasting isn't for everybody.
Yeah, it's certainly. Yeah, and I feel very protective. I love everybody that I get on the show. There's so many wonderful human beings on the planet, and I had no idea. I mean, I had a sense, but when I really got in this community and figured out how many people are doing so many good things every day. I mean, from, rocket scientists to people that are
Yeah,
stolen hot dogs in Brooklyn. I mean, there's so many human beings that literally are
yeah,
living lives in such an integrity-filled, valorous way,
yeah,
and it's so good that we get the chance to celebrate that unique blend of
absolutely.
just being on this planet for as short as it
Yeah,
is and celebrating what we're
yeah,
doing.
yeah. I in my hometown. So here's my ridiculous show, right? it books itself a lot of times. So I'll get this message. I grew up in this town called Benicia. It's wonderful. It's idyllic. It's beautiful. Everybody should go to Benicia. But this girl that I grew up with, and we don't hardly ever interact, right? We have the same last name, so I always call her cousin
Yeah.
Tina. And she's like, "Hey, have you ever interviewed so and so?" And I'm like, "Nope, don't even know who that is." And she's like, "Well, he is my stepdad and or uncle or whatever it was, like some kind of family relation, but not blood. And he does amazing woodwork. It is the most gorgeous thing ever. You should go do a show with him." And I was like, "Let's go, let's do it."
Uh-huh.
And so I went down to his shop, and he's exactly what you're talking about. He's this guy. He's in a warehouse of warehouses, right by a train track. And so it's loud train goes by. Shaka, shaka, shaka. It's
Yep.
beautiful where he is. And he's just taking this old wood and turning it into very, very expensive wooden bowls.
Yeah.
And when you see the work he does, you're like, oh my God, this stuff is gorgeous.
Yeah.
How do you do? And he just has this passion for it, and it's in his hands. And you hear him talk about the artistry. Like he's not just making bowls, he's making choices about how he makes the bowls and how he dress. And then he teaches people about it. And so, yeah, he's this wonderful person to talk to. And it's like, I get
I
to tell
know.
this story. He is invisible. In 8 billion people, he does not exist.
Yeah.
But I took a little light and I put it by him. And,
That's
and
it.
you get this. Like, look how great this person is.
Yeah.
They deserve your attention. Maybe you buy a bowl for 500 bucks, maybe you don't.
Yeah.
But now you know this person exists.
That's beautiful. That's exactly you nailed it. So let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight, ran into the young version of you, 18 years old, ready to rip out into the world, and you could give
Oh,
that version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've led, choices you've made, wisdom you've accumulated, what advice
uh-huh.
would you impart?
Yeah, I think about this is a great question. And when I ask people this question, I put the second of it. Okay, so what piece of advice would you give? And would 18-year-old you listen to
That's
you?
the key.
Yeah. And
That's the
so
key.
no, he wouldn't.
Right.
And I would say, look, you're going to have a great time. You're going to be fine. You're better looking than you think you are. You're not as fat as you think you are. You're smarter than you think you are. You're going to do great. Just keep going. And there's going to be bad things. Don't worry about that. There's going to be great nights when you just sit back and you just go, man, I had one last night. Oh my God, I had the best time. I mean, Joe, I sat on a deck in a gorgeous house in San Diego amongst the neighborhood of gorgeous houses, and we overlooked the Pacific Ocean. We drank good scotch, ate wonderful pizza, had delicious cookies, and just three good dudes who've all done incredible things. And we just had this magic moment. So you're going to have plenty of those, Pete.
Yeah.
And whenever you can, just look for those moments and slow down and relish those because the bad stuff's going to come no matter what, and you're going to get through that. And the other thing I would tell myself, and this is the most important thing, is just never stop investing money. Don't worry about picking the best stock. Just get 150 bucks a month into your account and just invest. And when you have extra, always invest some of it. Just invest, 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 invest. And I've done pretty good with my investments, but I could have done way more. I could really just be retired now if I would have just been better about that. And
Yeah.
that's true for anybody. Put
Yeah.
up 200 bucks a month into an index fund or whatever you can manage and build up to 200 bucks and just never worry about money again. Just
Yeah.
do that and you'll be all right.
That's it. Wow. Well, and then podcasting, there's no retirement. I don't see the retirement. Like if you can keep doing it,
Yeah.
it just seems like the ever expanding universe that there will always be nebula and universes
Right.
and all these, right? It's just
Yeah.
the continuum, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and there's no need to retire, and it can be a retirement gig. So if you're like, what am I going to do next? Do this.
Yeah,
Start a podcast, or
that's it.
or whatever. Go for carve balls. Go do. We get so wrapped up in our day-to-day working lives that we forget to build a non-working life,
Hmm.
and just when people talk about work-life balance, they're overworking. So figure out how to get more on the I'm not working enough scale. Like find out where that spot is
Yep.
and play in that zone and find the balance point where you're like, I'm not working enough. Now I'm working too much. Uh, and it shouldn't be comfortable. Balancing isn't comfortable.
Yeah.
And if you find that and you realize like I love ballroom dancing, I'm crazy for it, or country line dance, or whatever it is, just find that thing
Yep.
that you would do if you were a kid. Pete, keep playing sports. You're going to love it your whole life.
Yep.
At some point, you'll have to quit, but keep playing sports.
Yep. Absolutely.
Good advice.
So, what was a seminal interview for you early on, particularly where
Yeah.
maybe it was a big guest, a big moment, you grew a lot, you look back on it, you're like, wow, how did that happen? How did that land? Did you have a moment?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 came out of the box heavy. My buddy John and I started the show together. We just had a lot of connections, and I had zero fear of asking people to come on a show. Like one of my favorite questions I get is, "How do you get these people to come on your show?" And I go, "I ask them.
Yeah.
I don't.
That,
I don't borrow. No. Yeah, that's
yeah.
it. You know." And then if they don't come on, that's fine. Maybe they will later. Maybe they never will. I don't know. I just ask, and then I ask again, and I ask again, and then all of a sudden I've built friendships. I This is not the answer to your question, but it is an answer to your question. I know Gabrielle Reese. I know Laird, her husband. I know those people, and I can text them, and I can say that, which I did the other day. Hey, Gabby, it's been a minute. I'd love to have you on the show. Can we work out a time? And she's like, absolutely, but let's do it after the first of the year because they're busy people,
Yeah, sure.
but they're going to be the wonderfulest hosts at
Uh-huh.
their house in Malibu. I'm going to be a guest in their home. They're going to treat me like a guest. I'm going to have them. What? I get to go to
Yeah.
Malibu and
Yeah.
do all
Right.
this stuff, hang out with Garrett. Oh my God. It's
Yeah.
so crazy, right?
Yeah.
So the answer to your question is we had Sly Stone on the show. This is Sly Stone, the funk guy. He died a couple months or about 2 months ago. And he is one of the most important figures in music history.
Yeah.
He is one of the heartbeats from all of modern music. We always
Yeah.
say it on the show is he is the guy that the people who copied the people who copied the people who copied the people who copied the people who built the music today, like that's their guy. He
Yeah.
he invents funk with his buddy, George Clinton, right? These guys are the funkiest. All of rap comes out of that. They are seminal. They're indelible in
Yeah.
music history. And Sly, as crazy as he was because he was a crackhead, he had all this brilliance in him, and he was fragile as fuck, man. I don't know if he was on the spectrum, but that would be like a non-professional guess. Like he
Yeah.
just had been burned by so many people so many times and had this just this river of music flowing through his head at all times. And you can imagine how insane that might make
Oh
you if you
man.
could never turn this off. And so this is Pete analyzing it. I don't know if all this stuff's true, but this is my impression of it.
Sure.
But he would say the most amazing things to us,
Yeah.
the most amazing things. And one of the things that I've said thousands of times, because he said it, and he said, if my music isn't good enough, I don't deserve to eat. All right.
Wow.
That's the standard.
Yeah.
And if that isn't your standard, that's fine. But that is the standard. There are people out there that will cut body parts off, that will do everything to make it.
Yeah.
And you're competing with them. And everything's a competition.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go to that end. But when you're like, well, I've cut my budget down to the bone, like, well, you still go to Starbucks, you still have a cable bill, you still have room left on your credit card, like you got some capacity left. Maybe not a lot,
Right.
but sometimes that growth comes from hewing off a bit of bone, and then a branch comes out, and you're like, oh my
Mm.
God, what's that? I never expected that.
Yeah.
Now I've got this extra bit of capacity, and I'm not saying that you need to grow a third leg, but that pruning to determine what you really need to survive, like what really is the bone. And all of a sudden you realize like I can take quite a lot of discomfort, which is what it takes. It's what it takes in any of these entertainment industries, and still people fail.
Yeah.
It might be that you don't make your money in podcasting, but you make your money in producing, or you make your money in speaking about podcasting, or like there's all these other avenues, but they all require getting through that crucible of if my music isn't good enough, I don't deserve to eat.
Yeah. That's wild. And those are the seminal
Yeah.
moments. That's why we do this. When you hear it, the cackles go up. So at
Hmm.
the end of the day, everyone has a
Yeah.
perception of you. Family, friends, all of your guests, all of your fans, but you run the show. What's your perception
Yeah.
of you? Who do you think you are?
I like to think that I'm a person still trying to be a better person. I'm still trying to make amends for bad things I've done to people that I'm not even aware of. I'm just trying to put as much value and goodness into the bank. That's what I'm trying. That's my default. If something is scary, like on a topic for a show, I'm probably going to do it because that's a room to grow. And so I'm hoping that in general, I am seen as a valuable member of my community. I take a lot, but also I try to give a lot, and that's who I think I am. Is I'm just creative, high energy person who wants others to do well, and I believe in people. So I don't know. That's sort of how I see That's how I want to be seen when I see myself. Sometimes the guy I look at in the mirror, though, Joe, I hate that guy. And my boss is a dick. My boss looks exactly like this guy, and so he will work me to the bone. And I try to remember that I'm doing way better than I realize.
Yep.
I can slow down and stop, I can take a break. I can enjoy myself. I can go sit on some guy's deck in San Diego for hours. And because that's all part of it too. So yeah, I mean, I love like on X when someone's like, "Oh, you have a podcast," and I'm like, "If you only knew,
Yeah.
like what you're mocking. Come on, man,
I
don't take
know.
yourself seriously." And all of your insults are nothing compared to the guy in the mirror.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I'm the
Yeah.
hardest guy on me ever.
100%.
You can say things that cut me, but I am horrible to myself. Sometimes I
Uh-huh.
want to kill myself. And legitimately, like I have a suicidal ideation problem through my combat experience. And when I think about who I am, that's who I am. I'm this mix of things, good and bad, and I try to serve the better angels.
Absolutely. So let's say we get off this call, time machine pulls up in front of your house, honks the horn, you get in. What game are you going to? Since we've talked sports, what's the one game you want to see with your own eyes?
Mm. It's not a game; it's a boxing match. I'm
Okay.
making a movie about it, and it's called "The Fight to the Finish." It's one of the very, very first really seminal boxing moments. It sparks a lot of modern boxing. And it happened in 1889 in my hometown. It was on a barge. It was quasi legal, aka illegal. And so they fought on a barge in like a strip of this strait in between the bay and the delta. And that caused like a legal conundrum. And so these two guys, Jim Corbett and Joe Koinski, fought on this barge, and it was epic. It was epic.
Wow.
And I would love to be there because it's my hometown. I'd be like, look at this. That'd
Yeah,
blow my mind, man.
that is cool. That the visual you painted with that is wonderful. So if anyone wants to tune in your podcast, they want to reach out, any of the good business, where's the best place to go?
Just YouTube, Break It Down Show, PDA Turner. I'm pretty easy to find. You can find me on X as well. The show is there. The show's on Facebook. Those are the primary places. It's on LinkedIn if you're on LinkedIn. But yeah, I mean, what I want you to do is go to YouTube and watch it there. And I think I've got something for everybody, but every day is different.
Yeah, that's it. It's always evolving. Man, what a joy. Thank you so much. It's great to arc into your world for a little bit. Continued success. I love the exuberance, man. It just shines. So thank you.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody have a good weekend.
Yeah, you do the same, man. Cheers.